how gratifying is it for you to see Trevor Rosenthal out on that mound and looking like the guy you managed years ago?
Yeah, just obviously happy for Trevor and watched him go through some of the struggles he had last year and how difficult that is to be at the top of the game and then injury sets you back. And there's no guarantee, as good as our medical world is right now, there's no guarantee that you're going to get back. But it's obvious that there's another benefit to Trevor throwing as good as he can, and that's helping out the Kansas City Royals right now. And it's really been encouraging and just kind of special to watch how Trevor's made that transition from being the guy that Waino and Matt Holliday and Matt Carpenter all spent so much time into kind of teaching Trevor how to go about his business. And now, as I walk through the outfield every day, these young guys are talking about what Trevor's teaching them and watching him kind of evolve into that player that all the other guys are watching and emulating and learning from.
I talked to him yesterday, and he said that you kind of did a little recruiting, or you may have seen him in the off season and say, hey, what's up with you? And how'd that all evolve?
Yeah, he reached out, and, I try and keep in touch with as many of the guys that I can without kind of forcing that on them. But Trevor and I have always had a good relationship and had an opportunity to just encourage him that, hey, you know what, I saw how it went for you, and I think you're a whole lot closer than what you think. And then the conversation just moved towards, knowing that he's a Kansas City guy. This was even before I had the job, talking to him, how the organization thought highly of him and thought it'd be a nice place for him to be. And one thing led to another, and it was an opportunity. And as soon as he showed up to spring training, it was very clear that he was in the kind of form that we had seen before, as being one of the best relief pitchers in the game.
Mike, even though you had an incredible amount of success here in St. Louis, I find it interesting that you wanted to make sure that when you arrived in Kansas City, you were a better manager. And you've done some interesting things that I've heard that many managers haven't done. First of all, you took a class in leadership.
Yeah, I was studying to get my master's in organizational leadership, and I can't sit still, Frank. I want to be productive. I want to be growing. I want to get better. And I just think about the things in my life I want to be better at. And I really enjoyed the first time go around with managing, and decided if I ever got the opportunity again, I wanted to make sure I was doing something to improve myself. And so I was taking classes and right back in school, but I enjoyed it. I was learning a lot about that. Obviously, looking inside the business side, but also it's about people. And that's what this business is. It's 10% baseball and 90% people. And how can I improve in how I go about doing my job to create a better atmosphere for our players? And so there was a few things. I just felt that, I have some time. I have the desire to do this again. So why not be prepared in case I'm given the opportunity again?
So I want to get this straight. So you believe that a professor could help you become a better baseball manager?
Yeah. And it was some really interesting. Some of the courses didn't necessarily apply, but every time I had to turn, there's a lot of papers. Every time I'd turn in a paper, it was going to be baseball related. And I let the professor know this is what I'm doing this for, and I want to understand how to help the organization in any role or any capacity I have. But I want to deal well with people, and that's what leadership is. Leadership is impact. It's not necessarily a position. And so how can I make the greatest amount of impact on the people that are entrusted into my care? And I was hopeful that it'd be in the dugout, but wasn't certain of that. There's no guarantees, especially in this game. There's only 30 of those jobs available. And so things were kind of going in that direction. And that's kind of how I would frame the work that I was doing, is how could this help me do a better job when it comes to the relationships and understanding some of the needs of the organization from the corporate level as well. So it was I haven't quite finished the master's program yet. When I got the job, I had to put everything on hold, but it was very well timed. It was time well spent.
And can I ask the name of the university?
Yeah, it's Colorado State, and it's their global university, so it's all online.
Gotcha. Okay. Also, you felt the need to improve media relations, and that's something that was, many people don't really put much emphasis in at all. Why did you feel the need to do that, and what did you actually do?
Well, most of that was feedback. And yeah, I got to tell you, Frank, and you had to deal with me every day in that role too. And there's really not a lot of training. The training that I had is similar to the training that most people get in our business, which would be as a player doing interviews. But it doesn't quite compare the frequency and then the responsibility to be a voice for the organization. And so, I think you're always going to be walking that line of how do I do this job right? And then how do I also portray myself in this organization to the public? And the way to do that is obviously through the conduit of our media. I came in completely over my skis. Everybody knew that. I was unprepared. I was untrained. And my whole thought process was, I cannot use this, and I will not allow myself to use this as a self-promotion tool. This isn't about me. This is about my guys and how do I protect my guys. And so I almost attacked every single day an opportunity to get in front of the media to defend. I felt like I was a shield to defend our guys. And in the meanwhile, and even getting feedback from people that are closest to me of how I almost kind of blocked off my personality, blocked off some of the joy that I have in the game because I was so, and still am to some point, just always afraid of saying something that's going to get in the way of the relationships in that clubhouse or get in the way of the players. And so I had this kind of ongoing theme every time I would have an opportunity to speak in the media is do no harm. And that's a very defensive thought process, but I think there's some truth to that, but I think you can also be a light for the organization and also bring some positivity to the game, to the community. And that was a lot of the work that I did. I hired an independent contractor who was he's a marketing and communications professor at University of Kansas. And so we just started talking. I let him kind of go through the archives. He had followed the Cardinals as I was a manager and brought up some things that he thought would be helpful, and kind of ran me through another master's course, impromptu style, that just kind of attacked some things that he felt that I could do different, while also listening to people inside the game evaluate how I was handling the interaction with our media outsource.
I know things are going well. You got a young club with a lot of promise, and you're in a great spot. But I want to ask you: do you feel that you were unfairly portrayed and criticized? I mean, was there ever a part of you that said, "Wait a minute, I just went to the postseason in my first 4 years, which has never been done in baseball history, and people, actually media members, some are saying that I'm not a good manager." Did you ever feel bitter about that?
Frank, I'm not going there. And anytime, I think anybody in any walk of life, as hardcore as they want to be, you want to be appreciated for what you do. I'm no different, but it wouldn't go very long before I would always come back to the fact of being very grateful. And you and I had a good conversation right after I was let go, and that was real and that was true of the fact that given that opportunity was a stretch. And you know what, we did some really good things. So anytime my head starts going in that direction of I came here and managed here in hopes of always being here. Just like first team I played for was the Milwaukee Brewers. I wanted to play for the Milwaukee Brewers my whole career, and then next thing you know, they couldn't trade me for a bag of balls and had to release me. And so you just move on. And that's really what's happened here also. I'm so grateful for every day I had in the Cardinals uniform, whether as a player or as a manager, but it was time to move on. And so I just, I don't go down that trail in my mind. As soon as I do, I smack myself and say, you know what, man, it was a gift. It was great. And I met some incredible people, had some great experiences. And to your point, Frank, seeing when I go down into my basement and seeing all those champagne bottles that we were able to celebrate with, there's a whole lot of people who've had long careers that never had that opportunity to win, to go to the postseason, to go to a World Series, and to do it in a place where we've raised our kids. It was all very special. And you know what, if you get into this business and you think you're going to make everybody happy, you're in it for the wrong reasons. I love that quote by Steve Jobs that says, if you feel that you need to make everybody happy, you shouldn't be in leadership. You should go sell ice cream. And, that's just part of the managing position, is that you're going to have friction, especially if we're not winning. And there was a couple of seasons that we came really close and it didn't happen. And that's part of it. And so let's all learn, move on. And once again, I get back to the fact of being grateful every day I had here.
Final couple thoughts. I know you're on a timeline here. I want to get your take on the analytics that you've embraced also during your time away from the game, and what you actually did to really get in touch with that.
Yeah, so I had a course. We're empty nesters now, so I had some extra time, and so had an opportunity to sign up for a baseball analytics course run by a gentleman named Ari Kaplan, who's used by a number of different organizations, kind of as an independent contractor. And so I contacted Ari and got into his class. Some of it was really interesting. Others, they were doing data collection and trying to figure out how to write code. That stuff I just had no interest in. But what I did have interest in is making the relationships, learning what's next. Some great minds in there trying to figure out where the game is going, and then also making a contact with Ari to, hey, I'd love for you to take a non-biased perspective of me as a manager. Let's talk this through. You hear all kinds of different things. What has teeth from the data, just from the numbers. What could I do differently that could help my players? Once again, this isn't about trying to elevate myself as a manager. What am I missing that I'm not bringing to the players that I could help give them a competitive advantage with? And so Ari continues to stay in contact with me, and we have people, very talented people in the organization, whether it is in St. Louis, and we have an incredible group in Kansas City, taking the information that they have, but also having somebody with an independent view and take a look. Hey, see any gaps? I keep using the term blind spot. Let me know my blind spots. I want my staff to do that. I want the analytics people. I want the gentleman who's helping me with media relations. Help me see what I don't see. And then let's make a plan on how to fix it. And I think that's probably just a good way to go about life.